Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the regular board meeting of the Vallecitos Water District for August 5th, 2015. I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and if you would be so kind, Deb.
Join with me. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you. And roll call, please, Diane.
Director Ellsworth?
Here.
Director Hernandez?
Here.
Director Martin?
Here.
Director Snow?
Here.
Director Evans?
Here. Thank you. Would someone like to make an emotion so we can adopt the agenda for this
Move to
meeting?
approve.
Thank
Second.
you. We have a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstain? Unanimously. First thing on the agenda today is the introduction of a new employee. And I'm going to let Bridget Anderson tell us who he is.
Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. I'd like to introduce David Hernandez. He became a district employee on July 20th in the position of Construction Systems Worker 1. He's filling a vacancy that was left after an employee transfer. They moved to another department. David joins us after 3.5 years in the City of Vista's Collections Department. In his free time, he enjoys graphic design, going to the gym, mountain biking, and spending time with his wife and daughter.
Well, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
We stole another one, didn't we? We're really good at this.
Yeah.
Very.
Question, well, was that,
Yes.
was that his picture I saw in between the pipes?
Yes.
That was a nice little resume. Did you see that? Is that just electronic or is that made in paper?
I believe, but like paper copies are given to, it's only electronic? It's only electronic?
That's
It's only
all.
electronic now, okay.
Well, actually, a paper
Oh,
right
great.
here.
Oh,
I wanted to know what you do with graphic design, though.
I do I make logos for companies and
Oh.
started in high school and then I turned that into like silk screen. T-shirts and
Excellent.
stuff.
Do you make shirts for Comic Con or?
No. Or for like hobby or small companies.
That's really cool. Do any of the board have any other comments to make, David?
Are you a brother from another mother?
I have.
Everyone's your brother, David.
Yeah.
Welcome aboard. Glad
Thank
to
you.
have you here.
thank
Good
you.
to have
With
you,
a
David.
really nice group of people.
Yeah,
We met
that's what
them.
I'm finding out.
They're pretty cool. Look at all.
Thank you very much.
so much.
Thank you, David.
And the next is one of my favorite parts because we're going to present some certificates.
Yes, Mark, if you can come on up. Where's Mark? If Mark, come on up, Mark.
I have Mark Smith.
Yes, Mark joined the district in January of 2009 when he was hired as a construction worker. And after being promoted to the level 2 construction worker in 2011, he transferred to the treatment plant as a plant operator in July of 2013. He received his grade 2 wastewater treatment plant operator certificate issued by the State Water Resources Control Board on July 1st, 2015. Congratulations,
All
Mark.
right.
This is incredibly important to We do
All right.
appreciate you guys, not guys, you employees.
Ivan, come on up.
Next one is
Ivan Magoya. That's pretty close, right, Ivan? Ivan joined the district in Ivan joined the district in September of 2013 in the position of plant operator. Ivan was recently promoted to operator 2 in March of this year. He received his grade 3 wastewater treatment plant operator certificate issued by the State Water Resources Control Board on July 7, 2015. Congratulations, Ivan.
All right.
Thank you so much. So you take 4 months to get your next degree, the next level? I thought you said, you said March of,
This year. That was his promotion,
oh.
his transfer, yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. You are welcome to Mayor, that is one of the things that we get kudos for, that we have so much education and training going. The district is
Is there-
amazing that way.
Question of staff, is there an automatic pay raise that goes along with that?
I'm sorry?
Is there an automatic pay raise that goes along with that?
No.
No. Okay.
But we polish their shoes once a
You want people to move up more quickly, you include that as a,
But each level in the particular worker series requires higher and higher levels of certification.
Yeah, some of them actually require
Yeah.
within 1 year, you have to get, a
Oh, it's
certification.
mandated.
So some, to the grade 1 is. Yeah.
I just really, I'm impressed with that. Next, we have oral communication. At this time, I have one, and that is Mike Hunsaker.
Mike Hunsaker, 115 Equestrian Court, San Marcos. And, oh, by the way, Ms. Evans, I do have an answer to your question of what the ordinance, and it'll be coming out in the email.
Thank you.
And I can see also how you feel a little lonely at times as the only woman around, pretty much.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
but it's okay.
It's usually the
Men
male's
are
job
nice
to
to
carry
have
out the
around.
sewage, isn't it? At least that's my wife's
Is that what she said?
view about the garbage. So many topics to discuss and so little time, so I'm just going to cover a few that I will be covering in more detail in an email coming out this weekend on some of the master water plans and deficiencies. One of them, the major one, is proper consideration of the new development that is going in, which is mostly high-density apartments. You've got a very good figure now for how much water comes into the district and how much sewage comes out. And I think that was about 80%, if I remember correctly. Well, whether a person lives in a house or an apartment, it's immaterial because they're going to produce about the same amount of sewage, one way or the other. And as a consequence, there's a lot of gaps in how the master water plan considers high density and apartments. The question really should be, how many people are there? And the number of people is pretty much dictated by the number of bedrooms, not by the zoning. The zoning usually has broad categories of numbers of apartments. It doesn't have any designation as to how many bedrooms there are. And it does not have any accounting for density bonuses, which can be 10 to 20% above what the nominal zoning is. All these factors can be abused, and the current plans for new developments, which will be outside, not considered part of this plan, are high-density developments. I think that this needs to be rectified. We need a much better measure of what is to be built and how charges are to be made. The present plan, especially when it only considers what projects are currently approved, does not fit the pattern. Moreover, all the developers are pushing for, quote, streamlining, red tape reduction, which greatly reduces the time it takes to get new projects developed. Well, who's going to pay for these new developments? Well, as you're setting up now, it's going to be all the other ratepayers picking up over 90% of the cost of these new developments facilities. We are behind schedule in our budgeting for waste and sewage, so these diversions are going to become much more massive and important in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom, when do we actually have our master plan update coming forward?
We'll be updating the board as we go through. It's a long, long process. So
It is a long process,
think
but you're in
the-
it, aren't you?
Yeah, the first board meeting it's either first or second board meeting in September, we may have an update
Okay.
for you. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. The next item is our consent calendar, and if there's an emotion and a second, we could approve it unless there's something to be pulled.
I'd move approval of the consent calendar.
Thank you.
Second.
Director Eldred and Director Snell. Okay, those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no.
Couple of questions, if I may.
Those in abstention, yes, you may ask a question.
On page 19, John, I'm assuming, I'm just curious, is a bill for $225 for concrete recycling? Toward the bottom of the page.
Oh, bottom page, sorry.
So I'm just trying to figure out what
Page
we're paying
19?
Is it Carson's usually, okay, it's the recycled aggregate materials?
for. Yeah,
That's when our construction people have, they dig up the street or the sidewalk, mostly sidewalk since it's concrete. They bring the concrete over and there's a fee to have it recycled. I can get more information on it, but that's my basic understanding of it.
what did we used to do with it before we recycled it?
Ed might know.
Yes, Director. Back in the good old days, when I was on the construction crew, we just dumped it along with the rest of our spoils, but we're not allowed to do that anymore with either asphalt or concrete. It has to be recycled. So that's why we're paying those fees. We take it to a recycling
Okay.
agency for both.
Makes sense, it's something we have to do, And one other question, I'll ask John, but I think you're gonna have the answer to it, is Hodge Products, we have 96 water meter locks. I guess my question is, do we buy them in bulk because it's cheaper, or do we really go through that many? And how many times a year do we go through that many? And are people really cutting them, or are we losing them?
They do get cut, and then we have a cut lock fee. And also, as far back as I can remember, just offhand, it's been a while since we bought them,
Okay.
probably a year or two, and we do buy them in bulk for that. And also, where they are, they get a lot of exposure to the elements, so they rust and corrode and are difficult to use after a while.
They're usually in the ground, aren't they, where the water
Yeah,
meter
where the
is?
water meter is,
I mean,
yeah.
that's- yeah. Okay, I was just curious, I saw that, I went, is this once a year? I mean, I have no idea, but,
It's less frequently than
It's less
annual,
frequently
so
than that, yeah.
the
It's
inventory.
kind of as needed. The meter guys, what do you have on your truck, and as it goes to work, kind of thing. Yeah.
and when people cut them off, what are we charging them?
I'd have to look it up. That was part of the cost service study we did
Cost of
before.
service.
I know,
I'd have to get back with you on that.
okay.
It's right on our webpage.
Just curious, maybe-
I think it's 75
Rings a
somewhere.
bell.
That-
That sounds about right.
How much?
75?
I think it was 75.
Okay.
That rings a bell.
It was a disincentive, if you knew it.
And I mean, too, we have a new development that's built until the fees are paid, those meters are locked off. So a lot
Ah.
as new ones come in, we have to have more meter locks. So we lock them off. We're gonna use them, but.
So when we went on the tour, and we went up to the top of the hill in Vista somewhere, where there's been like 40 lots laid out forever with water meters, we have to lock all those. And when we have to replace them, are we still charging the developer?
No, we don't charge the developer that. That's just to lock them until service isn't activated. The only charge is if for a late fee or a late
Okay.
payment, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Any questions? Thank you, Director Martin. I learned a lot from that question. Okay, first action item is also presented by John Bucko, and it's to adopt the resolution establishing a capital asset policy. Do you need a moment to catch your breath?
That was,
The chair's so far away.
yeah, that was.
You had to
I'm
run
gonna work
up to
out,
it.
yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair, members. What you have in front of you is a resolution establishing a capital asset policy. Historically, the capital assets have been defined, and the capitalization threshold, the amount of which we treat an item as a capital asset, has been combined with the purchasing policy. And in looking at best practices, the capital asset policy itself should really stand alone from the purchasing policy and both be reviewed independently. The last time the capital asset threshold itself, and that's the amount above which we capitalize an item, and I'll talk about what is a capital asset here in a moment, was back in 2007. In 2006, the GFOA came out with, Government Finance Officers Association, came out with a best practice that said that $5,000 should be the absolute floor, and that's where we are currently, right now, at that floor. A capital asset itself is any tangible property, such as a vehicle, machine, building, and has an estimated life exceeding 1 year and costs above the threshold. What we're requesting in the policy, in the resolution and the policy, is that the capitalization threshold that we have currently of $5,000 be increased to $10,000. The reason for that is because since 2007 and now, as we went through the recession, the cost of labor and materials, there was a lot more competition, so we were able to get things for less money, but as prices are increasing now and the cost of labor is going up, what would have cost $4,000 is now costing $7,000. What we do in the case where we don't capitalize something is we just expense it through the operating budget. But we've got some things that are coming now that are peaking just above $5,000 that we would, to save administrative costs, rather expense those through the operating budget as we've done in the past. Some of those items could be parts of motors that are part of a bigger asset that will have refurbished, and it will extend the life for about 2 years. So by the time we get it out, refurbish it, it costs a little more than $5,000, get it back in service, we've already started to depreciate it a year, and then it's about time to take it off again if it's gonna last about 2 more years. And then we pull it back out and do the whole thing again. So to save all the admin costs of keeping track of those smaller assets, that every 2 years, just raise the threshold up to $10,000, and that'll relieve that.
Are there any, or is it more?
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, so staff recommends adoption of the resolution, and I'll answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Director Martin?
Quick question, John. How does this differ from the policy that we had in 2007? You said it hasn't been changed since then.
It was part of the purchasing policy. It said any purchases above a certain dollar amount are going to be considered a capital asset, and it really didn't necessarily define what a capital asset is. Whereas in this resolution, we have Section 2 defines on page 26. It defines what a capital asset is, the threshold itself, what's a capital improvement project, where it's multiple expenses in order to build something. The whole project itself is then capitalized as a single asset, like a pump station, for instance. It's a pump, it's the electrical service coming in, it's the building that's housing it, and all of that gets capitalized as a single asset.
Practice hasn't changed, it's just kind of formalizing what we've done and then moving from 5 to 10. So,
And what's the financial ramifications of this to anybody? To the ratepayer?
So it's less administrative costs for us to track the items like I described.
So it's a savings?
Savings.
Yes.
A savings.
And through budgeting, what'll happen is during budgeting process, it'll give us a clearer line. Because right now, we're getting quotes when we go through the budget process. Well, how much is this gonna cost to do that? Is it operating or is it capital? And if it's right on that line, well, it's more time that we spend deciding, okay, is this capital or is it operating?
Thank you, John.
All right. Yes.
Yeah, and certainly costs I've seen this also in my private sector job, but costs have gone up significantly since 2007, so this certainly makes sense. I do think it'll drive some efficiencies for your team and the district. So if there's no other questions, I'd like to move to approve the ordinance as presented by staff.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and approved to accept the resolution for the change in the capital asset policy. Those in favor, roll call. Those in favor, answer roll call.
This will be resolution 1478. Director Elazar?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Director Sinella?
Yes.
Director Evans?
Yes. And item 2.2 on the agenda is also resolution endorsing Director Kathleen Tiggs for the ACWA president, and that will be presented to us by Tom.
yes, Kathy Teagues is a currently the vice president of Aqua, and she's done a great job on her role as vice president. She's looking and asking for this board to endorse her nomination for president. So she'll be on a slate as president for Aqua at the next conference to vote. So we did, for you to consider, include a resolution in the board packet if you were so inclined to support Ms. Teagues for that position. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions or comments? Yes, Director Sinella?
Just out of curiosity, Tom, is the slate running unopposed?
Yes, we don't know until we get there. There could be a nomination from the floor, but so far there's no other nominations.
Nothing announced?
Other than the slate. Very unusual. I mean, we did have that happen last time, which was the first time in the history I know, and actually Kathy was the one.
I was gonna say, it was with her doing it.
Yeah, the Pierre Swan
Right.
was on the slate to be vice president, and Gary Arant had nominated Kathy as to oppose Pierre, and Kathy won. But and that might be the impetus for this, because usually you don't see this. It's pretty routine. So, but here she's asking for an endorsement.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, my only comment is I've been very impressed with my experiences with Kathleen, very much so. So, what would be our pleasure, board?
Move to approve.
To approve?
Second.
Thank you. A motion and a second to adopt a resolution endorsing Director Kathleen Teagues for ACWA president, and this will be a roll call vote.
This will be resolution 1479. Director Elazar?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Director Sinella?
Yes.
Director Evans?
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 2.3, CASA election of directors for fiscal year 2016. And once again, Tom.
Yes, thank you. CASA is having their conference a couple weeks from today on Wednesday, the 19th. Their conference starts, includes an annual business meeting where they elect their board. They have a 12-member elected board, and have another member that's appointed, a 13th member. But they run 3-year terms, so every year 4 positions are up. So, and what you have before you in this, in your board packet, is the slate from the nominating committee for the, and there 3 of them are incumbents, 1 of them is not. But that's their recommended slate. Now, we don't, it's not to vote on now, but just for your information, at this meeting, it would be our delegate, which would be Director Halatharp, would be voting, and they would have that set up. But if, in the absence of Director Halatharp, our alternate is Director Evans. So, will you be there, Director Halatharp?
I won't be able to
Okay,
make it.
so maybe we can we'll let CASA know that Director Evans will be voting in your absence there. So this is just for information,
Just for
to let you know what's happened. And then Director Evans will be our delegate.
And do any of you have a specific opinion against? Great, thank you so much. And to that item?
That's it, yeah, just for
Oh,
information. Yeah.
Wow. So item 2.4 is our quarterly investment report. It is in your packet. We don't need to read it unless you would like to ask John Fusco if he has something that needs to be explained.
Yeah, our resolution requires that we bring forth to you each quarter a report of the investments, and you've got it in your board packet, and John is prepared if you'd like to hear a little bit more about our how we did this quarter.
Does anyone, are we all fine with the written report, or would someone like him to give us an oral?
Great job, John.
Wonderful job, John.
Awesome.
Excellent.
You're the
I
best.
see you
You're the
got the
best.
interest rates to go up, and I really appreciate it.
If they went down, you'd be up there talking to us, I'm sure. Yeah.
Keep up the good work. All right, thank you. Then we will be moving directly to reports, and we'll have our assistant general manager.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
Tom.
Madam Chair. Just to report on conservation, you saw that, all the agencies made the newspapers last time. They, 33.2%, I think, is 33.8 is what the state board had calculated for us. We actually calculated 31.2. They do it a little bit differently, but we'll take the 33%, which is well above our 24%. That was for June. We've got preliminary numbers for July, and we're at 37.7%. So we had
Oh, my gosh.
tremendous savings for July, so that'll look good. I'm sure that it might reflect on other agencies as well because of the rain.
Director Hernandez.
And how is that affecting our revenue?
We've already planned to meet the target, so you'll hear tomorrow, the next board meeting, we'll have financial reports that will reflect for this fiscal year. We ended the fiscal year, so this is the first month that we actually, it'll impact the fiscal year we're in now. Last fiscal year, we had an overall unfavorable variance in our water division of $900,000. But we had, enough in reserves to absorb that. And same thing, we actually ended the year with rate stabilization money. So we did very good in the water division. We've targeted 24%, so this is a little bit more than we targeted, but same story, most of that is the cost of water. So when we're not selling it, we're not buying it either, and that's 60%, of the cost. And we budget pretty conservatively, so a lot of times we have offsetting favorable budget variances. So we'll get a better idea of that next time we present the financials.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once again, a good job to John Pesco there.
Yeah,
Got that
and
balancing act.
I think that's about all I had for you. Yep.
All right, and it's up to you now, Jeff.
Well, I think Director Hernandez asked a great question
When?
about revenues.
Oh,
How it affects revenues, the drought, and it is a good thing that, we're cutting back. But the environmental, San Diego City Council's Environmental Committee is meeting right now, and the Public Utilities Department down there is requesting a 17% increase
Yeah.
in water rates. And it is due to the fact that obviously the consumption is down, but it's also, we're gonna have more expensive water. I mean, Met and the Water Authority is getting more expensive, and we've got the desal plant coming online. That's gonna be more expensive. So this is, it's gonna be a tough pill, and it'll be interesting to see what happens, what report we get to see how what the Environmental Committee comes up with, because that's gonna go right to the city council fairly quickly.
there's an add-on to that, I think they weren't doing it all in 1 year, though, they were.
There's gonna be a
splitting it up.
10% increase in January, and a proposed 7% increase in July, next July 1st. So yeah, it wasn't gonna be, that's a good point, it wasn't gonna be 17% all at once.
Because we're looking at an increase as well, from what I could tell.
I think you're probably gonna see, I mean, I
Well, we were
defer to
actually,
these guys.
We actually got a call from the same reporter that did the story on that Jeff is talking about, and we honestly said, well, we plan on using reserves. The increase you're gonna see is gonna be from desal, not from conservation, because of the planning we've done, and she thought it was such a wonderful thing, but she never followed it up with in the newspaper.
No, no.
Good news doesn't make newspapers.
That was good news, so, yeah.
Start the front room on fire, she'll be
Yes,
in the front
Director
page.
Chanel.
Jeff, these percentages that you're talking about, just to clarify, are these percentages that the city council will increase rates to San Diego water customers? Or are you
Yes.
talking about the water authority?
No, this
the water
is,
to us?
Mike, this is the city of San Diego, the retail, passing it on,
Okay.
so.
That's what I thought.
Let's
Just
say
wanted to
you
make
were,
sure.
yeah, and I mean, basically, they're the ones that ultimately have to make the call.
Yeah. So it doesn't impact Vallecitos customers whatsoever?
No, but it does in the sense that I think you want to be mindful that, revenues are decreasing, as Jim was pointing out, and the water is getting more expensive. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast, so
Sure.
Yeah,
that's all I have.
thank you. Well, I have three real quick things on San Diego County Water Authority. We did have a representative from the Scripps Institution of Oceanography in an El Nino, and it was fun because he said, he couldn't say it officially, but he felt a very strong 90% we will have the El Nino, and an 85% that he thought it would make it through the winter. However, he did say that he's not sure, that still we're in that 50-50 about what the rain will be, and he's a little concerned that the temperatures will continue to stay high. So an El Nino does not usually bring water to the north, but they're a little nervous now that there will be higher temperatures and there won't be a snow. Yeah. So it won't even matter if it's El Nino or not, because they won't have a way to have that slow drip into them. So he was concerned, but hopefully optimistic that we could resolve our problems and figure a way to get through it. Yes, sir.
You can mark it on your calendar right this moment. This is gonna be one of our wettest winters, because I'm gonna have a project, the ground's gonna be opened up for months, and the
Yeah.
rain is just gonna come barreling through.
Got it.
It won't get maybe up north like the professor and doctors say, but in San Diego County, in San Marcos, get your rubber boots out.
Why have you been taking so long to get started?
You know, I'm trying to push it ahead, but the city is taking.
Once
what-
again.
I'm sorry, what our speaker said is absolutely not true. Development is not getting done quicker. It's just as slow as it's always been.
Slow, yeah. Well, that was the one thing. I just thought it was nice to have someone get up there and say, I can't officially say it, but we're feeling really strong and everything indicates it. But there's also some big, warm, unusual blob of water up in the,
By Japan.
yeah, and they don't know what that's gonna do. So it may end up all blizzards and it may be great.
But didn't, I understood that there was some charts that he passed out. And
Yes.
and this, looking at the events, this is paralleling, is it the 98 event or the whatever?
98.
It looks like this looks like a big one, whereas last year, about July was when everything just dropped off.
It did.
But this thing is just going on, and then they've got this big blob, like you said, up in, they don't even, it's so far north.
They don't know what it is.
They don't know what it is. So, I mean, it does look really encouraging, and it does help that we get, if you go back to those other years, we did get more moisture up in Northern California also. I mean, it did spill over.
It's the
but-
snowpack they were,
Yeah.
and nothing will get moisture, but not.
Yeah.
And that was part of my second thing I was gonna say is, and if you are interested in that, I can get the PowerPoint presentation and have Chris or I could do it. It was very fascinating and give you a kind of an eye opener on what El Nino does and doesn't do. So, would you want me to put that? No, one no, couple of no's.
I think I've seen it.
Seen it all, okay. The second thing is that they finally got their new electronic boards in it there, and I don't know if you've been to the Water Authority, but it's big U shape, and there's 36 people when you're down the side and down the middle, and the chair's up here. And so we've always just raised our hand to get attention, and you know how easy, I can't even do 4 of you, so that's pretty hard. And they got the buttons at the seats, so you can do an on or off button to speak, and then your vote, we don't usually vote by the lights, but they had that. And then up at the chair seat, they have this really nice monitor, and it shows a view of the boardroom, and each seat so when everybody's there and you're sitting, it shows everybody's gray, and then it will turn, if you're speaking, it will turn it blue or green. If it's a committee meeting and the committee, if you're in the committee, your light comes on green, and if you're not, it comes on blue. And then the really cool thing is over here, the names come up. And if you did it, and then you did it, and then you did it, but he's the only real committee member, he gets moved right to the top of the list automatically. And then there's this really cool delete button if someone talks too long. And what was so exciting, yeah. And this was my first meeting, I got to chair the water planning, and it was like, I'm first thing in the morning, the first time to ever see this board. But I have to say, I don't know how they did it without that, because it was really great. It comes up, the names are real big, and it was wonderful. So they were very excited, and I thought just that alone would be lovely to be able, even like Hal had said when he was up here, it's hard to see, because we're so, and that was just great. So that was, and the third thing
If I could just add to that, I think what council was speaking about, the city of San Diego 10% increase, it was gonna be 5% before they put that stuff in.
yes, but you know what? That was at the Water Authority, and we didn't raise anything. And you already know that
You already had too much.
So, no. If the city was putting it in, they could do that. Okay, and the last thing was we'd had a closed session and regarding the coast keepers and the desal plant. And it's now open and done, and the judge has ruled in the favor of the Water Authority in that the whole, the ERA process had been done, and they didn't complain about anything until right now at the last minute. So it was, they had failed to do it, and it was, so, there's both sides of the issue, but I'm glad lawsuit was settled, and we've been pretty amazing, it seems like, with our attorneys. And that is my report for the Water Committee. So, Encina Wastewater Authority, Capital Improvement Committee,
We did not have a meeting this month.
how lucky. Okay, Policy and Finance,
We didn't have a policy and finance committee since our last board meeting here, so.
you haven't had one either?
We had one earlier in the
Oh.
month, before
Oh,
our
the last,
last board meeting.
before you left. All right, Directors' Reports on Travel, Conferences, and Seminars. Director Sinella.
Not a conference or a seminar, but I did take a little bit of time last night and met up with Chris and Grace from our public relations team at the National Night Out event that they had at Connors Park here in San Marcos, and it was really nice that we were able to set up a booth, and I really appreciate them kind of working late, if you will. I think the event went till about 7 o'clock, not including the takedown. So I appreciate them taking time away from their families to do that, and I think the community really enjoyed it.
And how was the turnout, and what was the
I didn't get,
questions or the
yeah,
what?
I didn't get there until about 5:45, that I went after work. And it didn't seem too busy when I got there, but it started picking up, I think, as people got off work. It went from 3 to 7,
Oh.
and, you know, we had a lot of kids, because it's really kind of the whole National Night Out is really about getting the youth and law enforcement together in the community and kind of talking about things and building positive relationships. So we had a lot of kids that would visit the booth, and, you know, Chris was really good about asking them, you know, prompting them to kind of give some response to the question of how are you saving water. So we heard all kinds of things,
Oh,
from
good,
shorter
that's good.
showers to, you know, not irrigating the landscaping and stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun.
And were they giving out
Yeah, they had,
information or a little?
yeah, we had information, we had some swag, some Vallecitos swag, like, I don't know what those electronic flower things are.
Oh,
but
little solar
you know what I'm talking
powered-
about?
Yeah.
Little solar
so-
power plants.
Yep, so it was fun.
Excellent, oh, thank you for going.
Good question, was
Yes,
it
sir.
at the city, was it at Autumn Drive? Where'd they have it last
No,
time?
It's at the
it was at the
Connors.
park, at Connors Park.
Next to the middle
Connors
school
Park.
right here, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it used to be on the Autumn Drive Park,
There
whatever you
was,
call that.
yeah, so San Marcos hosted 2 events last night. One was in San Leo Hills, and the other was in Connors Park. And I think, lack of resources, we probably couldn't do both, so we were at Connors.
Glad you did that. All right, any other reports or comments, or, yes?
I attended the Council of Water Utilities meeting on July 21st and listened to a presentation by Robert Poor with Fieldman Rowlap and Associates on the drought, tiered rates, and agency credit ratings.
And did you learn any phenomenal thing you got to share?
Well, we got some good press from our recent refinancing, so that was good. And I've known Robert for a long time, and he was very informative.
Excellent.
He was the FA who did our bond, so you've seen him present, yeah.
I was there also, and we did get enough to listen to everybody on that. Any more? All right, then that will move us on to other business. Possible change in the regular Board of Directors meeting date. I believe the problem there, would you like to tell us, Tom?
Sure, yeah, well, our next board meeting is the start of the same day as the CASA event, so we don't anticipate anything that needs to be addressed before then, so it's pleasure of the board, but I would recommend just either postponing or canceling this meeting, the next meeting.
Yes.
I would make a motion that we cancel the next meeting unless staff tells us something different.
Second.
Well, we have a motion and a second to cancel that. So those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. Whew, so lucky. All right. Quarterly board expenses. I believe that's a written report in our,
We got it.
and we're fine with that unless anyone has questions. All right. Director's comments, future agenda items, birthday wishes or announcements.
Oh, somebody's birthday?
Oh, yes.
Happy birthday to all four of you prematurely.
Thank you.
But I did notice we have the 14th was showing a desal for, which just the first time that I know it showed up, but I think they just made it late. But yeah, for Aqua District, and I want to make sure that, yeah, that we get on the list if we want to, and I put my name down.
Is it, did you give me your phone?
I haven't to give you, but I'm just saying, this is the first one we actually got it on, there, right?
Okay, I did send it out via email, but that's okay, so you're indicating that you want to.
Yes,
Okay,
please.
Great, got it.
Thank you.
And I remember the email, but not the time, Diane. Were we supposed to meet for that? Was it at 9?
Actually, I have to go back.
Yeah, okay. If
I
you,
can resend it out. I can resend it out.
okay, so I'll let her know if you can make it. And that would be fun. Any other? Thank you. All right, then this meeting is adjourned.
Enjoy.